in a world where beauty and the beastly collide. One swarm is all it takes to bring an empire to its knees. Welcome to the zombie zone, where the undead aren't the only thing you need to fear. From the heart of Hollywood to the streets filled with terror, join us for an intense, thrilling ride in our latest story, Swarm of the Dead. If you love the undead, gripping thrillers, and jaw-dropping twists, you are in the right place. But don't just sit back, hit that like button, share the terror with your friends, and subscribe to the Zombie Zone for more heart-stopping stories. And don't forget, comment below because your comments are valuable to us. We want to hear what you think. Is humanity lost forever? Or is there hope for survival? Stay tuned, the Swarm is just getting started.
Music. The city of Los Angeles had always been known for its glitz, glamour, and unrelenting pace. Neon lights painted the night sky, celebrities flaunted their latest fashion, and influencers shared their perfect lives on every social platform. But beneath the sparkling veneer, there was something darker, something that no one could have predicted. It began with a whisper, a rumor circulating in the shadows of the Hollywood elite. It started small, like a crack in the foundation of the city's perfect facade. A mysterious outbreak. People spoke of it behind closed doors, but no one wanted to believe it was real. It wasn't until the first gruesome headlines broke out across social media that it became undeniable. A new kind of apocalypse had begun. No one had prepared for it. Not the CDC, not the government, and certainly not the stars who prided themselves on being invincible. But then again, who could have predicted the role that insects, those tiny, often overlooked creatures, would play in the downfall of humanity? The night the virus began to spread, a swarm of genetically modified mosquitoes, initially designed for research purposes, found their way into the heart of the city. A series of careless lab protocols had allowed them to escape containment. They buzzed through the air, undetected, spreading a virus unlike any other. A virus that didn't just rot the flesh, but reanimated it. They didn't just bite, they infected. And within hours, the city's glimmering skyline became a tombstone. Riley Monroe stared at her reflection in the gilded mirror, the lights of the Beverly Hills penthouse casting a warm glow over her flawless skin. As a rising starlet in Hollywood, she had everything: a career on the up, luxury cars, designer outfits, and an Instagram feed that made people believe she was living the dream. But tonight, something felt different. There was a restlessness in the air, a sense of unease that she couldn't shake. The evening news had been full of reports of strange, violent attacks across the city. At first, she brushed them off. They had to be hoaxes, she told herself. The tabloids were always making up stories for attention. But as the hours ticked by, something in her gut told her it was worse than anyone imagined. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and she picked it up. The text was from her best friend, Maxine. "Riley, this isn't a joke. It's happening. Get out now. There's something in the air. People are turning." Riley's heart skipped a beat. She knew Maxine wouldn't panic unless there was real danger. Maxine was the kind of person who stayed calm in chaos, the one who always had the best party supplies and the best connections. If she was scared, it was for a reason. Just as she was about to reply, a loud, jarring knock sounded at her door. She froze, her mind raced. Who could it be at this hour? Another knock, this time louder, more insistent. Riley's hand trembled as she set her phone down, walking cautiously toward the door. She looked through the peephole but saw nothing. No sign of life, just the dimly lit hallway. Then the knock came again, but this time the sound wasn't just on the door. She could hear something in the walls, a buzz, like 1,000 insects swarming just beyond the dry wall. A chill ran down her spine. She turned the lock and slowly opened the door. There, standing in the threshold, was a man she didn't recognize. His eyes were wide, and bloodshot, his skin pale and clammy. He was dressed in a blood-stained tuxedo, as though he had just come from an upscale event. But the worst part, his mouth was dripping with something dark, thick, and almost unnatural. Before Riley could react, he lunged, his mouth wide open, teeth bared, and her entire world went black. Riley woke up in a panic, gasping for air, her hands clutching the sheets of her bed. She was disoriented, her vision blurry, and for a moment, she thought it had all been a dream. But then she saw the blood on the floor, on the walls, on the shattered remains of the door. And the man in the tuxedo was nowhere to be seen. Her phone vibrated on the nightstand, and she grabbed it, her fingers shaking as she read the text from Maxine. "They're everywhere. They're infected. Stay inside. Don't trust anyone." Riley's heart raced. She needed to get out of there now. She grabbed her purse and made her way to the front door, stepping carefully over the shattered glass and bloodstains. The buzzing in the air had intensified, the sounds of swarming insects making her skin crawl. As she stepped outside, the sight that greeted her made her stomach churn. The once bustling streets of Beverly Hills were eerily quiet, save for the occasional figure stumbling aimlessly, their faces twisted in grotesque contortions. The infected moved in a slow, shambling manner, but their eyes glowed with an unnatural hunger. Riley's mind raced as she ran down the street, her heels clicking against the pavement. She had no idea where she was going, but she had to find Maxine. If anyone could help her survive this nightmare, it was her best friend. Suddenly, the buzzing grew louder, and the shadow passed overhead. She looked up just in time to see a massive swarm of mosquitoes descend upon her, their wings buzzing like an infernal choir. They were everywhere, thick and black, clouding her vision. She swatted at them, but they were relentless. They pierced her skin with their tiny, sharp mouths, and before she knew it, she felt the first bite. The infection spread like wildfire through her veins. Riley collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing as the world around her blurred. Her vision shifted from sharp to fuzzy, and then she heard it, the distant sound of something monstrous. She looked down at her hands, which were now covered in the dark blood of the infected. The infection was spreading rapidly through her bloodstream. It was happening to her. She could feel it in every bone, every fiber of her being. But then, something strange happened. The hunger didn't consume her. Instead, she felt a rush of power. The buzzing stopped, the world around her went silent, and for a brief moment, she was no longer terrified. She was alive in a way she had never been before. With a new, unnatural clarity, Riley stood up, her head swimming with the realization that she was no longer the person she had been. She was something else. She looked around, scanning the horizon. There was only one goal left in her mind: survival. She had to find Maxine. Maxine had already barricaded herself inside her penthouse, the glass windows now coated with grime from the swarming mosquitoes outside. She was watching the chaos unfold from a distance, trying to make sense of the madness that had overtaken the city. When Riley arrived, her face pale and twisted in the remnants of her former beauty, Maxine didn't hesitate. She let her friend inside and locked the door behind her. "Riley, what happened to you?" Maxine asked, fear in her voice. Riley gave her a grim smile. "I think I'm one of them now, but I'm still me. I can feel it." Maxine backed away. "We need to figure this out. We need a plan to stop it." But Riley shook her head. "It's too late. We need to leave this place. The infection is everywhere. And this," she said, tapping her chest, "is just the beginning." The two women stood in silence, the hum of the mosquitoes outside growing louder, their presence a reminder of the nightmare unfolding beyond the walls. Together, they were determined to survive. The city of Los Angeles, once a beacon of glamour and fame, had fallen into chaos. The infection had spread faster than anyone could have anticipated, and soon, it wasn't just the mosquitoes that carried the virus. People were turning against one another. desperate for survival, willing to do anything to escape the swarm. But for Riley and Maxine, the world had changed, and with it, so had they. They weren't just survivors anymore, they were part of the swarm, and the world would never be the same again.